Hello. Hello there to everyone around the world. I'm Gary Kendall. I'm a minister in the Dolphin Star Temple, and I'm coming to you today from my home in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm here today to be your guide in today's edition of the series of meditations brought to you by the Dolphin Star Temple. And I'm personally here in my commitment to the Dolphin Star Temple because I was one of the students of Amorah Quan Yin, and she was the teacher who made the greatest difference for me in my life. So I'm an active member of the Dolphin Star Temple. I work primarily as a healer and as a writer on spiritual topics. So welcome to you here. And for today's meditation, I want to dedicate this meditation to the highest evolution of consciousness for the earth and all the beings of the earth. And let us not underestimate or misinterpret the challenges that we face. Humanity's overriding challenge is changing its consciousness. We have reached the stage of evolution in which we can envision a world of higher consciousness, but we are struggling in our task of realizing that vision. Consciousness is the focus of the work that we do today. In particular, our focus is on how we as individuals can sustain a higher level of consciousness in our everyday life. It's not a difficult thing under ideal circumstances, but we may not have prepared ourselves for all the challenges that await us in everyday life. We start with individual consciousness because this is the one thing that we have total and absolute control over. We are the sovereign governors of our own consciousness and our own energy. We cannot command anyone around us to shift their consciousness in alignment with a higher future for the earth. We need to respect their self-determination and their own divine sovereignty. But as we raise and sustain our higher consciousness, we can have an effect on everyone who is around us. I want to combine this work and connect it with the Spheres of Antares. And you may have listened to me in previous meditations and heard me mention the Spheres of Antares. If so, you know then that Goddess Antares is a member of the higher council of the Dolphin Star Temple, and she was channeled by Amorah Quan Yin. The Spheres of Antares are a special kind of energy field, and that's in particular because spheres have the unique property of retaining their identity, of retaining their shape at all dimensional levels, up to the highest levels of oneness. Spheres are fields of energy without any upper limit. And as such, the spheres are tools that we can use to help raise our frequency and to lift our consciousness. To the problem that we want to address, we know that spiritual people regularly achieve states of higher dimensional consciousness. And we each have our ways of accomplishing that, whether through meditation or other spiritual, techniques. We often have special times for our spiritual work. And we know that maybe when we leave that time and we enter into everyday life, we often lose connection with that level of high consciousness. You probably realize that you meditate, that in say in the morning, that you tend to have a much better day. You tend to be in greater spiritual awareness, and maybe also you feel a level of detachment from other people's issues, their anxieties, and their concerns. You may know that the influence of the meditation tends to fade away unless you do something to reactivate it. So for most people, the practicalities of our everyday life pull us away from our higher consciousness and pull us into a state of consciousness associated with the dualities and anxieties of everyday life. This is especially difficult to avoid because of our psychic connection to society's collective issues, its anxieties, and its dualities. Important to know that your overall level of consciousness is a direct result of where you put your consciousness every day, moment to moment, hour to hour. If your consciousness is focused on the frustrations of everyday life, going to the supermarket, if you are giving attention to apocalyptic visions of the future, or to new conspiracy theories about deception and lies, that's just where your consciousness is. So we all want to experience our everyday lives from a place of higher consciousness. But how do we do that, and how do we sustain that? Maybe we need to say something about the challenge of sustaining our higher consciousness. Most spiritual people living on earth today will recognize that we are undergoing a great upheaval of consciousness. It may seem chaotic to us, with some people's consciousness descending and other people's level of consciousness ascending. If you're listening to this meditation, you've chosen to be a person on the path of ascending consciousness. And the challenge of staying on that path, is, much less because of everything that's going on around you. We have all experienced states of higher consciousness. Some may be calling it Christ consciousness, or higher self-consciousness, or maybe just sacred consciousness. Please, I'm going to bar the description of calling it fifth dimensional consciousness, because that particular description lets me to make some important points about sustaining consciousness in everyday life. In the terms of that language, ascending consciousness is about a move from third dimensional consciousness to fifth dimensional consciousness. But you might ask, why are we skipping over fourth dimensional consciousness along the way? The answer is that we are already deeply embedded in fourth dimensional consciousness. What we experience typically in everyday life is a combination of third dimensional consciousness and fourth dimensional consciousness. While our body's senses give us a clear perception of the physical world around us, the third dimensional world, our patterns of thoughts, behaviors, feelings, and much more are part of the fourth dimensional world. We can't see the fourth dimensional world, but it holds the limiting beliefs, judgments, and patterns of our everyday consciousness, including dualities of thinking, our misperceptions, our behaviors of limiting ourselves. human culture has created this fourth dimensional world full of dualities. Dolphin Star Temple itself is, I think, very much distinguished by its strong emphasis on clearing your fourth dimensional beliefs and patterns, those things that take you out of higher dimensional consciousness. This is what the job of a healer is, to help you clear away those aspects of your fourth dimensional self that hold you back. You might ask what it might mean to be in fifth dimensional consciousness. It means living your everyday life in the third dimension while holding your consciousness in the fifth dimension. Your thoughts and perceptions would exclude dualities and patterns of limitation because these dualities cannot exist in the fifth dimension. This would cause your perception of the third dimensional world to shift. You would cease to see things from the standpoint of dualities and limiting beliefs. You would experience detachment from the issues and anxieties of others. The fifth dimension can be described as a plane of consciousness. The fifth dimensional Earth already exists and is largely unpopulated. We become citizens of the fifth dimensional Earth when we enter into fifth dimensional consciousness. It is a world open for us to create a new human culture. Every time we access fifth dimensional consciousness, we bring something of ourselves to that world. It's an act of love, a prayer for humanity's future. So let us recognize the deep importance of sustaining fifth dimensional consciousness throughout our everyday lives. Let us create a fifth dimensional human culture there that's in alignment with the highest spiritual principles, the oneness of all. Our meditation today has a special purpose. You might say that the whole meditation is an act of setting space around you personally in order for you to have something to hold on to as you move through your everyday life. You will focus on the universe of yourself, of your energies, and your consciousness. We do this with the knowledge that you are a creator being, and that you create your reality in the worlds above the third dimension. This is not a metaphor. This is not a fantasy. It's a reality in the unseen world. This is the power that you have as a human being with a divine soul. You create the world, the energetic world, and the dimensions above you. You can choose to be the one divine sovereign master over yourself and to use your creative power, and we can choose to use it enthusiastically. So please now make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes and bring your attention to the space inside your body. Your body is a temple in which your consciousness is anchored. Visualize that everything around you is slowing down. It's slowing down to the point of coming to a complete stop. See yourself in a space of complete stillness. Let go of everything. Turn off all perception of the outer world. Focus all of your attention on the divine light within you, the divine light around your heart area. Maybe you see it as a ball of light. Understand that divine light within you is radiating an expression of your pure, true self, a vibration that is uniquely your own. And now visualize that that light within you begins to expand. Let it expand to fill the space of your chest. Let it expand outward into the space of your light body. Let that light expand outward to fill the entire space of your auric field. And now, drawing upon your power as a creator being, call for an Antares sphere of oneness to form around your aura. An Antares sphere of oneness. Let yourself visualize it, a beautiful sphere of light completely surrounding your aura. Reach out with your feelings to sense it all around you and through you. Inside of this very special sphere is a field of the transformational energy of oneness. A transformational energy of oneness. It is an energy that calls to your light body, calls for it to be in alignment with divine oneness. Visualize that transformational energy penetrates your light body. Focus all of your attention on the feeling of being inside the sphere, the feeling that this transformational energy creates in you. It can feel like a gentle magnet pulling at parts of your light body. It's pulling on those parts to bring them into greater and greater alignment with oneness. Surrender yourself to the magnetic pull of oneness. And release whatever feelings of resistance you have. Let the Antares sphere of oneness work to transform your entire light body. You can visualize that the energy penetrates and brings alignment to your organs, your muscles and your skeleton, going into the very light structure of the substance of your physical body. And then visualize that it works to penetrate the physical cells of your body, bringing them in the light within your cells into alignment with oneness. Let the energy inside the sphere work to bring alignment to the fibers of light that make up your light body. A body of light, beautiful, fibrous. This is something beyond the substance of the 3D world, something beyond your ordinary perception. Let it shift your consciousness to a place that is beyond your regular world. Let it lift your consciousness onto the high dimensional planes. Surrender. Surrender and let the sphere work. Let it work to bring your consciousness to the experience of oneness. Release yourself. Release yourself to be drawn toward that state of oneness. Take in the feeling. And in order to remember this event, to remember where you are, ask if you might take a snapshot of your experience, a snapshot memory of where you are, what it means to you, what it feels like to be here. And we put it away for future use. This is a marker to help you return to this place. If you're like most people, the energy of this sphere of oneness would begin to slowly fade away as soon as you direct your attention elsewhere, especially by focusing on, the give and take of everyday consciousness. When you feel drawn away from your higher consciousness, you can reconnect with the Antares sphere of oneness. Because once you've established your relationship with the sphere, it is easy to call it back and to re-energize it, to re-energize its effect on you. We can practice that, what you would do during everyday life, to help re-energize the sphere. And so we follow these simple steps. First, direct your attention to your heart center and focus on the divine light there. And then visualize a wave of energy expanding out from your center and stretching out to the edges of your aura. And intend that this wave replenishes the energy of the sphere of oneness. And now recall that snapshot, that memory of your visit to the sphere of oneness earlier, and use that to help anchor this experience into you again. In this way, we can hold this experience with us throughout our everyday lives, bringing it back to us, helping us to step through the challenges of everyday life in a way that engages us at our higher levels of consciousness. Next, we will invoke 2 additional Antares spheres inside the same space as the sphere of oneness. The first other sphere we would like to invoke is the sphere of purity and simplicity. So, drawing upon your power as a creator being, call for an Antares sphere of purity and simplicity to form around and through your aura. An Antares sphere of purity and simplicity. This, you'll discover, is a sphere that transforms your energy in a specific way. First, it reaches into and cleanses the fibers of light that make up the microstructure of your light body. It cleanses and purifies. It untangles the knots where energy is unable to flow. Focus all of your attention on the qualities and the feelings of this energy. Your goal is to bring your light body to absolute purity. And with purity comes simplicity. This sphere enables overly complex thinking and feeling to dissolve away. Surrender yourself to the relaxation of purity and simplicity. Release whatever feelings of resistance that you experience. Let the sphere help you transform to a pure and simpler version of yourself. Take in that feeling. Feel what this transformation is like. And imagine that you can take a snapshot. You can hold a memory of what it's like to be in this place. You set a marker. You set a marker of what it's like to be here in the action of the Antares sphere of purity and simplicity. And we will hold this aside for future use. Next, we're going to invoke an Antares sphere of balance and stillness. So, drawing upon your power as a creator being, call for an Antares sphere of balance and stillness to be placed around you and through you, around and through your light body, around and through your auric field, an Antares sphere of balance and stillness. This is a sphere that affects the way your energy moves in your light body. The balance that we speak of here is the balance of energy that's spinning like the chakras, spinning like the overall field, spinning in very many places in the light body. Everywhere that energy is spinning like a top. When energy is out of balance, it wobbles, and it creates and holds dualities in your life. The sphere brings balance to all the movement of energy, allowing your light body to come into a state of calm and stillness. Let the sphere work. Let it work all through your auric field, all through your light body, to bring balance to everything that's out of balance, to bring everything towards stillness. Focus your attention on the feeling qualities of this energy. The goal is to bring your light body's energy flow into absolute balance. And with balance comes stillness. Surrender yourself to stillness. If you feel any resistance, release it. Let the sphere work. Let it work to bring balance into your light body. Let yourself move into a state of divine balance and stillness. And imagine that you can place a marker here for your memory, a marker about what it feels like to be here at this moment, a snapshot of this experience that you can return back to. And our goal ultimately is to be able to hold these spheres around our light bodies, around our auras, through the course of everyday life. And then when we're distracted away and when we lose our connection, to be able to re-energize them and bring them back. The spheres hold you in a high dimensional space, aligned to oneness. They work to draw your consciousness into alignment with oneness. to first to re-energize them. First, think about the sphere that you want to bring back to you. Let's start with the sphere of purity and simplicity. Then direct your attention to your heart center. Focus on the energy of the divine light there. And ask that that light expands all the way out to the edges of your auric field. And intend that this energy is there to re-energize the spheres around you. And recall that snapshot, the feeling that you had with the Antares sphere of purity and simplicity. Bring it back to your mind and remember this as a marker that you can always return back to. And maybe you say to yourself words like, in my absolute purity, I want to return to simplicity. In my absolute purity, I want to return to simplicity. To help me live my life every day in alignment with these qualities. And now, if you would, to think about the Antares sphere of balance and stillness. Direct your attention again to your heart center. Focus on the divine light within you. And visualize that that light expands out through your chest, out through your auric field to the edges of your auric field. And intend that that light activates and re-energizes the Antares spheres around you. Recall your snapshot of what a sphere of balance and stillness is like, what it feels like to be immersed in the transformational energy of balance and stillness. You call it back to yourself. And maybe you can say something to help augment the intent by something like, I choose to be in absolute balance and stillness. I choose to be in absolute balance and stillness. I want to walk the path of my everyday life and hold this balance and hold this stillness with me. In these ways, we take direct control, direct mastery over the energies that are our own. We build the energy sphere around us as our own domain, as part of our own sovereignty, what we have total mastery over, and what we can maintain in our everyday life, maintain and control the way that we intend for it to be. So these techniques are to help you maintain a state of higher consciousness, when you are engaged in everyday life. And so with this, also consider the possibility of practicing invoking the spheres when you have a chance in everyday life, to practice it when you have a break, to make re-energizing the spheres a habit. And in this way, we come more and more to sustaining fifth dimensional consciousness throughout our days, raising our overall consciousness, raising our overall frequency, and knowing that when we do this from a place of our sovereignty, that we have a profound influence on everyone who's around us. So I want to thank you for being with us here today for this meditation. And I want to give thanks too to all the guides and helping spirits who've contributed to this, and invite everyone to listen to Amorah Quan Yin's channelings of Goddess Antares and to read the transcripts. Blessings to everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. And that's the end of our meditation for today.